But on that point, something that I'm curious about as you kind of continue to dive deeper into the levels and even get into the biblical languages, what's maybe something that intrigued you that maybe you wouldn't have quite pieced together, figured out before you got into the biblical languages?
I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting question because I don't really see I don't really see things that are extraordinary in the sense that I would have missed some great theological truth if I hadn't understood the
Mm,
biblical languages. Um, and so I think we'll get into this, but I think there are really good translations that are available that help people who don't know the
mm,
biblical languages to read the Bible with very good understanding. So
mm,
I think we have good, reliable translations that help us to do that,
mm,
and certainly a wealth of resources for people who don't know the biblical languages to be able to get the benefit from people who do know the languages. And
mm,
so I don't see this work this just this work of understanding the Bible in its original languages to be, something that we just got to do, or else we're
mm.
missing something.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess maybe that's the way to say that, is that we do have plenty of resources to help us understand the Bible adequately and reliably. But I think understanding the languages and being able to look into the languages myself, and to not have to be dependent on other people's work to understand that,
Mm,
there's something gratifying about that, and there's something that that for me connects me more to the kind of the core of those teachings that are in the New Testament,
mm,
because I have more of an ability to be able uh, to to see what was there in the original languages, and I mean, maybe to feel the emotion of the text sometimes, or to feel the rhythm of the text sometimes,
mm.
because when we read them in English, just there is a different rhythm. And it's taken me a long time to really get to the point where I could actually say something like that about the rhythm of the text in original language. But
Mm,
you can see things. So my work in Philippians last year, there are just you see certain words that are repeated through Philippians, um, and you don't even always see that repetition in the English translations, because the word may be connecting to different parts of the range of meaning. So it's
mm,
appropriate for that word to be translated in different times in a specific context.
wow.
So it wouldn't probably be appropriate in an English translation for you to see every one of those repetitions, but to be able to see it in the Greek, and to see
Mm,
to kind of feel what Paul is doing as he's weaving that together, is there's just something that's different about that. So I don't know, um, the introduction that I wrote to what I did in Philippians last year, I said I don't think that I've written a translation that's superior to anybody else's.
mm,
Um, but there are certain things that I've tried to communicate in this translation that I see in the original language, that I'm just trying to get there. So I encourage people, in that introduction, to put my translation alongside of the translation that they use most consistently, and where there are differences, to really try to kind of see what I'm trying to communicate
mm,
there. Sometimes it's just what a word means. The words that are translating in
mm,
Philippians 1:27, the words, uh, Paul says, "Walk worthy of the gospel of Christ." The verb, the walk word that there, it's just a word it's impossible to really translate into English.
Mm,
the uh, the richness of that word. So it actually means to live as a citizen of a city. So to live in a way that's consistent with the citizenship that you have. And
wow.
um, so, I mean, you can't get that into a translation unless you translate it like
Mm,
that. So even if you get it, what city is he talking about? Well, I think he's talking about the kingdom of heaven. You know,
mm,
he in chapter 3 talks about being citizens of heaven. He's talking about that same idea, same basic. The root of that word is consistent between those two places. Um, but most people don't see that citizenship idea in
mm,
127 because it's just hard to get those ideas into an English translation. So the problem
mm,
is not with the translator. The problem is that the English language is just so different from the Greek
mm,
language, and we just don't have a comparable word to communicate all of those ideas that are there.
mm. Yeah, and I think that's an encouraging balance that you just explained that to someone who does know the biblical languages, it's not as though they're going to misunderstand the gospel or miss out on a core Christian
Right.
teaching by not knowing that. But at the same time, you said that there's still great value in studying the biblical languages because, like any language, they're just hard to translate certain words or ideas that you just can't do easily and simply. And that's a beautiful thing of maybe finding more fullness or finding
Yeah.
something that makes more sense when you read in the original language versus maybe a attempted translated metaphor that we're just not going to understand. So I think that makes your work so much more interesting and valuable to the rest of us of getting to hear that.